All right, I know y'all are about to be in my comments about this one, but the Huracan fucking sucks, all right? Now, don't get me wrong, the R8 is an incredible car. In fact, if I had to recommend a supercar to somebody to start out with, it'd be the R8. And with a base MSRP of $100,000 less than a Huracan, this is so much better of an option than a Huracan. The Huracan is less practical, it has no visibility out the back. The fucking windshield is like this. And in general, the Huracan feels more like an Audi than the R8 feels like a Lambo. A lot of people get these as their first supercar because it's so easy to use. It's just great on a daily basis. You could almost daily drive these cars, but that's the problem for me. Like, I expected a Lamborghini. This is the first Lamborghini I ever drove, and I expected it to be, you know, rowdy and loud and obnoxious. And it's really not like that. It's just like it happens to be a fast car that looks like a Lamborghini, if you will. Does that make sense? When I think of a supercar, I think of something that's like extremely fun and visceral and tactile and really kind of will beat you up a little bit if you drive it hard. And this really doesn't really do that. Even in like the most hardcore mode, it's not gonna feel like a GT3 or something like that. And I know every time I get on here and talk about a supercar, y'all are like, oh, you're just mad because you can't afford it. You've never been in one. I've driven multiples of these, and it's just like, this is my experience. This is how I feel about the car. And I see why it's so appealing to a first-time supercar buyer, because it has that exotic feel, but it doesn't feel too foreign compared to like a regular sports car. There's not that much you have to get used to when getting into this car and driving it on a daily basis. The handling characteristics are gonna feel way different than, you know, most front engine cars and stuff like that. So if you're coming from like an AMG or an M4, it's gonna feel different. But the infotainment is basically the same as an Audi. And really the driving characteristics, like, it's not that difficult to drive. Like, I'm sure if you get in like a 458, it's gonna feel much more foreign. Not foreign like as in like, you know, from overseas. I mean like unfamiliar as a driving experience than like coming from like a regular everyday car. Which for a lot of people that's fine, because especially if you want to drive it very often. But for me, if I want a $300,000 sports car, I want it to feel like a fucking race car. I want it to feel like it's gonna kill me. I don't want it to feel anywhere close to what an Audi feels like. Now, don't get me wrong, the interior on these things feel very exotic. So you get inside of this thing and it feels like a spaceship. You have to flip that thing up, which feels like a fighter jet to start the car. And I mean, everything about it just feels like you're in something different. But as far as the driving experience, it doesn't feel different enough from an R8 to really warrant that price, in my opinion. And if you ask me, the R8 interior is much more practical and feels like you could daily drive it better. So for a vehicle that's so easy to use, I feel like the R8 is more suited to that. I'm not saying the Huracan is a bad car, but it's just too good. Like, it's so good at being comfortable while being fast that it takes away what it means to be a supercar.